Hi, everyone. Deborah Hamilton of Hamilton Law Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast that is really going off incredibly off the rails in a good way, that it's hitting so many listens and shares that I'm super thrilled. It might be because of my wonderful guests like Jim Gisaldi and Temple Grandin and Kim Kodak, all of whom are wonderful veterinarians, wonderful humans, wonderful attorneys. So if you haven't listened to it yet, please do. Of course, Hamilton Law Mediation, if you have a conflict with an animal, please look me up. But of course, tonight I'm with my peeps, and I see we have another peep today. I'm so glad, Arlene, that you're here. This is the MAAP program. And this is the program where we talk about how to make sure you keep your pets safe in the event something happens to you. And before everyone got on, I was talking a little to Sally that I can tell you no less than 7 people sent me Facebook posts where pets, a beautiful German Shepherd, 2 beautiful Newfies, a Beagle, all of them, some of them are young, some of them are older, are looking for new homes because their owners were unable to keep them. Some, job loss or home loss, others passed away and nobody made a plan for their pet. So it's not just about putting your plan in your will. We love that, but you have to put a plan outside your will so that you can make sure your pet's cared for in the event you can't care for them and you're not dead yet. So before I go into my usual spielers about, something that's really pertinent to the MAP plan, either make a plan, appoint caregivers, address the needs of your pet. Really funny. I'm going to handle that today because I had a very funny conversation with someone who said, well, maybe I should talk about that, or maybe I should talk about this. And I went, well, when we say address the needs of your pet, it means that if they need medication to live a more comfortable life, this dog had an eye issue and drops had to be put in every day. I said, then you need to tell people, because then they know how to take care of the pet. So address the needs of the pet and, of course, publish all those plans. And tonight I had a conversation with a colleague and she said, well, my attorney and my financial planner know everything. And I said, well, that's great, but they're not going to be taking care of your dog. I said, so you really should put the people who are in line to take care of your dog in touch with each other, and anyone who's helping to disperse your things should know about each other, because it isn't an independent thing that someone's doing, because something might happen and I might not be able to take care of Sally's dog. So then she's going to call Connie, who's going to fly in from California, I am sure, and take care of Sally's dog. So I know that's just what's going to happen. So without further ado, Connie, congratulations. I see that the Casey man did another good thing this past weekend with the members of his obedience or agility or something crew.
Obedience Club. We held a fundraiser, and this was a test run before we open it up to the general public, family, friends, et cetera, outside of our membership. But 8 of us got together last Saturday morning on a beautiful Southern California fall morning up at one of our nearby shopping centers up the hill from me. And all 8 of us passed with flying colors, because we all have trained dogs, our Canine Good Citizen Urban title. All dogs who get the Urban CGC title have to have the baseline CGC title first, of course. So Mr. Casey was one of those who passed, and he was just an angel. And we started at Petco because, of course, you've got to go in and out of a public building with shoppers. And then we walked around the mall and we did long sits and downs and we ate in front of our dogs and all the rest of it. So we were the entertainment for the Saturday morning shoppers, and they were all saying, oh, what cute dogs. And of course, all the kids were going nuts because all these 8 dogs were parading around the mall together, and it was outdoors. So it was very nice. So at any rate, that was great fun. And now that it was such a great success, we are going to open it up to other folks outside of our membership, and I am one of two co-chairs of our Responsible Dog Ownership Day that our club is going to hold November 14th in one of the parks where we train and hold classes. So that should be great fun as well. And in fact, I have to place a press release in one of the local papers to let folks here in the South Bay of LA know about it. So very proud of my boy, and he is getting ready 10 days from now for his next dog show. And there is a major entry, which is very exciting. But the little bugger came in from the backyard and scraped his nose.
Yeah.
So I'm putting Mushroom Secret on it. Fortunately, it wasn't bloody or anything else. It's just the black skin is off it.
Yeah.
And of course, he's supposed to have a very black nose. So we may do a little mascara touch up.
No. It's so funny you say that, because I found a larger crate for Mariah to give to Susie Sullivan, who co-owns her with me. And we gave her the bigger crate. And when she came out of the bigger crate, she had the same nose that Casey had, because she could go like this up at the top of the crate, where the smaller crate, she couldn't do that. So, no good deed goes unpunished.
Absolutely.
So she has this big nose thing, and I get it. And nobody faulted. Well, maybe that's why she got 4th out of 4 and 4th out of 5. And, maybe that's why, because her nose was did. I hope not, but maybe that's why, because her nose was done. But no, I know it really is frustrating when you're about to go to a show. I thought you were going to say something like he chewed the hair off his paw, because my dogs usually do that. They chew the hair off their paw.
No, fortunately, his coat is beautifully intact. It's just, the nose has a few pink spots on it from where there is no longer any black skin.
Yeah.
But boys will be boys and
Boys
all of that good stuff. Yes.
Oh God. So Sally, how's everything going with you?
Well, I'm jealous because you just have pink noses. I have Labradoodle cuts on my Irish setter.
Oh no.
Yeah, talk about the day before the show. And I was going to meet the breeder, and I thought, I'm going to go to the best groomer I know, who's always done a fabulous job, and dropped both dogs off and went to pick them up. And basically, I would say they were shaved with Cocker Spaniel ears. Just pathetic.
Oh my God.
So Gordon sent me a picture of the girls driving home from the groomer, and I looked at the short cut ear, sort of like how the British show Irish setters, with the hair cut to the flap of the ear. And I said, Gordon, did she cut the hair at the end of Roxy's ear? And he goes, yeah, I think so. And I said, okay, fine. I said, oh, I can't wait till Sally sees this. And she, of course, was horrified and was not going to bring the dogs to the dog show for me to see the next day. But in fact, she relented, because I said, they don't know they look funny. And if anybody makes a comment, tough, who cares? And because we know they were not shaved because they were matted messes, because Sally combs them every night with like a flea comb to get all the ticks off. So there isn't a self-respecting knot on any dog. But it was quite funny, and we did laugh a great deal, and hair grows back. So it's not such a big deal, but they do look funny. In fact, I'm trying to understand the umbrella cut on Roxy's tail, because she cut it short like an umbrella. Like if you held Roxy's tail up, it would fall like 3 different umbrellas. So it was really, I don't know how she did it, but it was very interesting. So fabulous. Arlene, we'd love for you to remind us, if you've been here before, and if you haven't, we usually introduce ourselves, tell us where we're from, and then what dogs we have and any questions we have. And you don't have to either. If you don't want to unmute, you can just sit and partake of all the information we're going to share once we do all of our check-in. But you're more than welcome to unmute and check in. Rose, I know that you don't have to unmute, but I know you're going to try to find those gremlins that keep eating Connie's invite. I am not sending an invite to Connie. It just seems for the past 2 weeks, no invite comes. It reminds her she's supposed to be here, but the invite doesn't come. So Rose will figure that out, Connie, or else I will just send it to you. I will send it to you every time you tell me I don't have the invite yet. So
thank you very much, ladies. I appreciate it.
No worries. And Kieran, how's everything going with you?
Oh, everything going same as usual. Thank you, Debbie.
We spent some time together last week. We had that hour with Spencer on Rebound Dog where we made a lot of progress on thinking of ideas on how to work together and get things out there. Rebound Dog is a group that I highly recommend people finding out about. They're on Facebook. Spencer Hoggett started it. It really is a group that has, I think with a little bit of my help, branched out from just shelter and abandoned dogs to also include purebred dogs, sort of like Kieran's book includes purebred dogs, because we all need to take good care of all the dogs, and purebred dogs often end up in shelters and in difficult situations. So we really need to make sure all the dogs are put in a certain category to be cared for. And of course, the book, One-Eyed Leo, which now is called
When your child asks for a dog, One-Eyed Leo guides the conversation.
So I'm writing that down so that I make sure I know that completely. Hi, Marion. How are you? Welcome. And you can check in and let us know where you're from and what your dogs are. If not, I'm going to go off on my little merry way and make sure that we cover some of the really good information. At the beginning of this call, I talked about having several of my listeners. You would have, it really is amazing. 5 or 6 of us show up every Wednesday night, and I am so grateful. But I will tell you that there's at least 30 or 40 people listening to this program every week because I keep getting information from them. Did you know about these dogs? Did you know about that dog? Did you see this? So that I can share it with my community. And a lot of the dogs that I've shared with my community have actually found homes in their area because someone I know shared it with someone they knew who then was a perfect fit. But most of the shares that I've had this week have been people whose owners have either fallen on hard times and had to drop the dog off at a shelter or at a rescue, or maybe even with the breeder, or they passed away. In fact, I just got off the phone with a colleague of mine who had dinner with a woman on Saturday. She went to stay overnight at her daughter's on Tuesday, and Wednesday morning, her daughter found her dead in the guest room. And she has dogs. And, her daughter will take care of the dogs, but there really wasn't any plan put in place because we all know, and this is, the best of worlds and the worst of worlds of purebred dog ownership. We all know that our colleagues will come to the aid of their countrymen. But if you want your dogs to be cared for in a certain way, you need to write that down. You need to make sure people know what way that is. That's the part of making a plan that we do all the time. I want to tell you that this weekend's program was fabulous. We had such a good time. So many people were so happy to be there and work on their MAAP plan. They all got them done. I was really thrilled. I think they're shell shocked that no one is here right now. But it was just phenomenal. And the information I received from them to add to the program was also phenomenal. So I'm really, really thrilled. 5 more people have plans for their dogs, which I think is fabulous. If I can do 5 at a time, I'm doing well. So when we make our plan, we have to decide how we want our dogs treated. What is that life we want for them? Or do we want to trust the people who we entrust with our dogs to make those decisions for us? Totally fine, either way. It's just always good to make some sort of a plan. When you're addressing the needs of your pet, I said before that I was speaking to someone and she said, well, I don't have to worry about that. And I said, well, you do. She goes, no, my daughter knows. I said, well, do any of the dogs take any medication? And she goes, well, not really. One of them does, but it doesn't matter. And I said, well, tell me a little bit about what's wrong with the dog. And she said she has an eye condition. And I said, well, what do you do for it? She goes, well, I put drops in. I said, does your daughter know you put drops in? She goes, no. And I said, well, there's going to come a time, maybe, when your daughter will be responsible for possibly taking care of that dog. Either you'll be on vacation or something. I said, and you'll have to tell her about it. So that's part of the MAAP plan. That's part of addressing the needs of the pet that you need to share with the people who are taking them. I know that Sally has had a number of occasions with Roxy where she has to address the needs of the pet because Roxy doesn't like little white dogs. And if she doesn't tell the person walking the leash of Roxy and a little white dog goes by, they find out really quickly that Roxy doesn't like little white dogs. And it's always a good thing to give somebody a heads up that, oops, little white dogs, not good for Roxy. So making sure that you address the needs of the pet. I know everybody thinks, well, everybody knows how to take care of my dog. No, they really don't. Right, Connie? I mean, there are certain little idiosyncrasies that come and happen that really make it difficult for us to assume that people know how to take care of our pets.
Well, you were talking about your friend or your clients putting eye drops into her dog's eyes. In cases where a dog has something really serious like uveitis, which is a precursor to glaucoma. And one of my sister's golden retrievers had uveitis. Unfortunately, she kept the glaucoma at bay, but she really, really, really had to put eye drops in her eyes to prevent that from happening. And you cannot let that kind of a dosage lapse.
Right. You can't have a break period. So Marion, let us know where you're from and what kind of dogs you have if you want. You don't have to, but we always like to bring everybody in. Connie has Wheatons. Sally has Irish Setters. Kieran has a dog that he's watching for someone. And the breed is, Kieran?
My gosh, my mind has gone blank.
Well, it is midnight there, so I'll be giving a program tonight.
Oh my gosh, sorry. One moment.
That's all right. I'll be giving a program tonight at 12:30, and I'm telling you, I'm going to call Connie afterwards to see if
Scottish Staffy. Yes.
Oh, a Scottish Staffy. Wow.
Yes. So
nice.
Well, either Scottish or American, and I sort of think it's more Scottish than American, but
perfect. So, Marion, you can jump in and let us know where you're from and what kind of dogs you have, or just, listen to us babble away about why it is so important to have a MAAP plan. Perfect.
That better?
Much better. I can hear you. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
I have one dog, and he's living with his other mother in Minnesota. This is an arrangement the breeder set up when I got him. She suggested we have a co-ownership. Oh. So when the need arose, there would be two people to look after him.
Perfect.
And it worked out great with this pandemic stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I only sell my dogs on co-ownership so that if, God forbid, something happens, everyone knows the dogs can come back to me, either short-term or long-term. And also, if there's someone nearby, we talk about this often here, if there's someone nearby who can take care of the dog, then all the co-owner has to know is who that person is. So that, with COVID, I remember the MAAP plan used to be okay when we had caregivers I lived in New York. So some of my caregivers lived in Connecticut and in Maryland. And during COVID, Maryland and Connecticut couldn't come into New York. So we've now expanded the MAAP plan to include our neighbors and include a document on our refrigerator that lets us know and lets the EMTs know if the dog is with you, if it's your time with the dog, who to call. And also have a neighbor Susan's here, great. A neighbor know that there is someone who can come and get the dog, because it's always imperative that the dogs never go to animal care and control if you can help it. And the way you do that is I call them the nosy neighbors. I love nosy neighbors. I love neighbors who say good morning to you every time you walk outside. Somehow they're always outside when you're outside. I love it, because those are the ones who I always say, if you see me being carried out by EMS, just tell them, I know who she wants to take care of the dogs, leave them in the house. And then, of course, I share with my nosy neighbor the number of, Connie or Sally or Kieran, so that they can call them and say, hey, oh my God, she's got ice on her head. Are you okay, Susan? Oh my God, you fell in.
I was reaching up to get a lemon reamer for my kitchen cabinet, and it's heavy, it's glass, and the point just Came right down on my head, my forehead.
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad you're here. And
Yeah.
oh my God, I can't believe you're hurt. I was worried about you. So I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
But Marion, this co-ownership you've got is fabulous. And also when the dog is with your co-owner, make sure that your name is up there so they know if something happens that the dog will go back to you, because you always want to make sure, or the dog will go to, will be cared for until you can get there. How far do you live from each other?
I think it's 80 miles.
Yeah. So it might not be that day. So if the neighbor can just let the dog out to pee and maybe, know how to throw some chow together for the dog till you can get there. I'm always of the ilk. I always want somebody, boots on the ground, so to speak, who can say to the, people who might be caring for me if I'm on the floor, I just want them to leave my dogs alone. Just stay here because, go to that neighbor. And if I can't comprehend, what do we do, everybody? And Susan knows what we do. We have a note on the fridge that says, in the case of an emergency,
Yes.
call these numbers, and you have to put at least your breeder's or your co-owner's number up there so she knows, and they'll leave the dog in the house. If you have a note that says on the back door or on the refrigerator that says, in the event of an emergency, please call this person. They will come and get my dog, leave my dog in the house. They will leave the dog in the house if they see, but they have to see it. It can't be in a file they have to find. They have to be able to see it. And that's why the nosy neighbor is good, because the nosy neighbor will point out to them, there's a note on the fridge that says, call me, I'm the neighbor, and I'll take care of the dogs until the person who's going to come and get the dogs comes. Because what has happened during COVID is that if the dogs are taken by animal care and control, they're held there for 5 to 7 days, depending on the legislative number. And then they're given to a rescue. And if you have a purebred dog, which some of us do, then they might be given to a purebred rescue or just a regular rescue. It really doesn't matter. If they can't get in touch with you, and if you're in the hospital and you don't have your phone, or you aren't answering your phone, or they can't get in touch with you, animal care and control will pass it on to a shelter after the legislative time of holding a dog to wait for an owner. And then if the rescue adopts it out, you can't get it back.
Well, and in certain jurisdictions like Los Angeles County, where I live, even if you're the owner, if your dog is intact, which show dogs are, and even after they retire, if they are in breeding programs, they are intact. If LA County Animal Care and Control picks up your dog, if it gets out, if, some way the dog is picked up, you as the owner with, your driver's license, proof of ownership, the whole 9 yards, cannot get your dog out until that dog is spayed or neutered.
Well, look and see if they have a caveat, which they have in New York City. So New York City is the home of the Westminster Kennel Club dog show, biggest dog show in the world, except maybe for Crufts. Right. And so, these are all these beautiful dogs. So one of my colleagues said there's a statute in New York City that if your dog is picked up by Animal Care and Control, you can't get it back unless it's spayed and altered, sort of like LA County. Well, I said, oh my God. And she turns to me, because she's not necessarily a supporter of purebred dogs, because it's the Animal Law Committee of the New York City Bar Association. She said, oh, your dogs are exempt. And I said, well, could you give me the law or the statute so I can go check? And I'm only exempt if I have shown my dog in the past 12 months. So if you have a puppy under 6 months of age and you don't do the 4 to 6 month AKC showing, well, then your dog hasn't been shown and it'll be altered as a puppy. If you have a top stud dog who only goes to the national every other year or when it's in your region, right? Because you bring it, he will be altered or she will be spayed as a brood bitch or as a stud dog because they haven't been in an AKC show. And of course, with COVID, there are a lot of us who haven't been to dog shows in 12 months.
Year and a half.
Yep.
In between Casey's last show before COVID and Santa Barbara this past August. And we have exactly the same statute in Los Angeles County. And in fact, when I went to license Casey, now we do have a provision, however, we do have an extra provision, come to think of it, that if you are a member in good standing of a purebred dog club, you get an exemption so that your dog can be
Yeah,
licensed
we don't get that
intact.
exemption. Yeah, we don't get that exemption in New York City. I'm not sure we
Yeah.
have that exemption here. And I don't think we have a law in North Carolina. North Carolina is a very laissez-faire state. I don't think they
Yes.
require anybody to alter anything ever. So in that world, it's good. But if you want to make sure your pets don't go to animal care and control, the single best way to do that is, if you're driving with them in your car, put that piece of paper up in your car as well. Take a 3x5 card and say, in the case of an emergency, this is the person to call to take my dog. If you're driving with your dog in your car, like we do to dog shows, right? We have our dogs in the back in crates, God forbid. We have, a health episode,
All kinds of crap.
car
Right.
accident or whatever. You want those dogs to go to the people who are, nearby. You probably know 2 or 3 people who are going to the dog show. I say many times on this call that if you're a member of a purebred dog club and you're driving cross country to your national, which I will be doing to Colorado from North Carolina, I will be finding members in every state I touch from North Carolina to Colorado to say, can I put your name? And I'll have a bunch of 3x5 cards I tape to the front of my car. It says, in case of an emergency, call this people, they'll come and get my dogs. And then
I take my directory.
Yep. And then I send them if they say yes. So I call Marion. And where are you again, Marion?
Minnesota.
So Marion's in Minnesota. If I drive through Minnesota on my way to Colorado, I don't think I will, but if I did, I would call Marion and say, would it be okay if something happens to me? Would you come and get my dogs? And, she's a member of the Irish Setter Club of America. She'd say, sure.
I don't know about that because I'll be in Colorado following you.
That's good. That's really good. So we'll have to meet in Colorado. But she would say, sure, I'll be, the call. And at least, even if she's on the road, right, she'll say, no, I know somebody who's behind me, who's near where the accident is, or God forbid, and I'll get in touch with her. You have to put that crew together, because if you're driving from Minnesota to Colorado, there are a few states you're going to go through. You want to have a network of people who you can call and say, if something happens to me, even if it's somebody who's driving behind you from North Carolina, like Deborah Hamilton, say, Deborah, I'm going to be leaving the day you're driving through Minnesota. And, if something happens to me while I'm driving, would you come and get the dogs? And I, of course, would say, sure, give me your cell phone number, but make sure you send me a document by text, by whatever, in case of emergency. Deborah Hamilton can get my dogs out of animal care and control, because if you have a car accident, it's unlikely they're not going to take your dogs to animal care and control, because that's where they go. But you have to leave a document that says, I give Sally Anderson the opportunity to take my dogs out of animal care and control, Connie Kohler, Marian Francesca, Arlene Kahn, Susan Capuano, Kieran Walsh. You have to give them a document that says, I can take these dogs, because animal care and control is a governmental agency. And all of us know that governmental agencies have rules, and the rules are some schmo, which is good because we don't want some person walking in and saying, I want to take those 2 beautiful Irish setters. I know the person. Well, how do you know the person? Do you know their name? Well, no, but I know them. Well, this way it's not amorphous. Here is this document that says, Marian Francesco has given Deborah Hamilton the ability to take her dogs if something happens to her. And Deborah Hamilton has given Marian Francesco the opportunity to take her dogs if something happens to her. This is the kind of network we want to build. And if you co-own, I always say, be incredibly transparent when you're making your plans for your pet, because a lot of people don't have the same exchange you do, Marian. And sometimes, the co-owners want the dog back, but they haven't seen the dog since it left to go home with the co-owner, because, the breeder is in Illinois and the owner is in Texas, right? So they haven't seen the dog, but they co-own it because the breeder wants to make sure the dog comes back to them if something happens. And people say, but, they might not let me. And I said, well, they definitely won't let you if you do it without telling them. They will just rise up and become, Attila the Hun. However, if you sit down and say, listen, I'm making all my plans for the care of the dog, in case something happens to me while the dog is with me, or, because I have the dog, I have a neighbor who the dog knows really, really well. I'd like to introduce you to that neighbor so that if something happens to me, Cody would love to be with the neighbor because he knows the neighbor. He doesn't know you from Adam. And me as a breeder who only sells via co-ownership, never ever without it, I would say that would be great because I want Cody to stay somewhere where he feels comfortable. But I also want to let your neighbor know that in the event they can't keep the dog, they have to call me. They just want to put that neighbor in the same shoes you're in so that they can get the dog back. And like the nosy neighbor, right? The nosy neighbor is going to take care of the dog for 24, 48 hours until the breeder comes or the co-owner comes. And this is this lapse of time. This is this great person who's going to help. So really finding the key people to help you is one of the most important things you can do when you're writing your MAAP plan. Now, I'll have another workshop probably at the beginning of next year. This year is move-in year, so I'm doing nothing. Well, I wish I was doing nothing. I keep telling myself to do nothing, but I have yet to do nothing. But I'm not doing another workshop until then. The last one was so much fun. Rose and I had such a great time with the people, and we're really grateful that they showed up. We hope more people show up. If you'd like to speak to me privately, don't hesitate to write info@hamiltonlawmediation.com, and I'll help you put together your MAAP plan. The MAAP plan is key because it's not just about knowing that your dogs, are going to go to somebody. You have to write it down. You have to give somebody a plan for how to care for your dogs, what your dog's idiosyncrasies are. And if you have a few people who are your go-to people with your pets, make sure they know about each other, because knowing about each other makes it easy when Connie can't get to the dog. She knows she can call Sally. And, Sally knows that if she can't get to the dog, she can call Connie. It's all about communication. It's all about redundancy, because our pets are really counting on us to navigate the journey they take when we can no longer care for them. So that's why you need to create the MAAP. Does anybody have any questions? Arlene, I am so glad you're here. I hope next time you tell us who you are and speak to us, and I could unmute you, but I don't really like to force people to talk. So let us know if there's any questions. Oh, there you are.
I'm sorry, I'm at work and I'm sort of running in and out. I apologize.
That's fine. No, that's fine. I just didn't want to ignore you. I'm so glad you're here. Do you have any questions?
Well, it's funny because tomorrow Eric and I are meeting with our attorney to update our wills. And so I got to really get this together fast, because every time you update a will, I think it's $120 each.
Well, if you make a MAAP plan, you just refer to it in the will, and then you never have to update your will. You only have to update your MAAP plan, and that's something that sits outside the will.
Oh, good. Okay.
At the workshops. Yeah. Because when you talk to your attorney, I'm happy if you give him my number. I'm happy to give him a half hour of my time to explain to him, what it is you want. And you can be on the call as well, because it's really important for trust and estate attorneys to understand what it is we want for our pets. And it's not just about dying. It's about the care they get if, in fact, we can't take care of them and we're still alive. Because if we put all of our plans in our will for how to care for our pets and we're not dead yet, those plans don't come to fruition. So it really is, it's something to consider and ask your attorney, because there is a pet trust you can make. And in the pet trust, what you do is you refer to the MAAP plan, so you can change the MAAP plan every time you change your dogs or you change your family members who you want, or if somebody can't take care of your dog anymore. That's why I created this. A lot of trust and estate attorneys like it a lot, because they get to set up a pet trust, but then they don't get to redo the pet trust every time somebody changes a dog. But that's the benefit. You have it set up, but you don't have to change it every time you change your dog. So yeah, it's expensive to update. In New York, much more than $150. So you are in a good place.
Right. Well, thank you, because I will contact you with that offer, because my attorney, she is an animal lover, and she will be thrilled to hear about this. And
Absolutely. That's part of when we do the workshops. That's part of the workshops. Your attorneys get an hour to pick my brain dry, because most of them don't understand what pet owners want. They just think they want them to take care of the pets when they're dead. And that's, of course, part of it. But if you're not dead yet, if you're incapacitated because you've broken a limb or because you need a plan to go into place and to pay the people who are going to care for your pets. So that's something you need to care for, put together as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll definitely talk to her tomorrow about it.
You're welcome. And don't hesitate. Tell her to give me a ring. So does anyone else have any more questions?
Deborah, who would administer the trust? You know, how does that work? I'm just curious.
Well, it could be one of the people who are caring for the dogs, could be the trustee, or it could be your attorney, if they wouldn't charge that much, or it could be a family member who could do the pet trust. It usually is simply someone who's going to make sure, oh, you have a hard stop at 7? Bye, honey.
For our time. So
Oh,
I will
yes.
see you all next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Connie. You take
Yeah,
good care.
Connie.
My love to the
Bye.
kids.
Okay.
So yeah, you really need to find someone to administer the pet trust. There are people who will do that for you. Sometimes it's your children. Sometimes it's a good friend. It's not something, it just has to be someone with integrity and trustworthiness so that they do apply it the way it should be applied. Most people leave it to an attorney or to a trustee who the attorney finds that may charge a certain fee. Or if you have a family member or a friend, they usually don't charge you anything. Like mine doesn't charge me anything, but they will pay the person who's taking care of my pet in the event. I mean, it's my accountant, and she's incredibly trustworthy. And she said, sure, I'll, pay it. I know what the pet trust is and I know where the money is, so I can pay her for it. So, yep.
I'd love to see a sample trust or how it might be set up. Just an
Well,
example.
that comes from the attorney in your state, and I can help them by giving them samples, but there are different pet trusts for different states. So if you put me in touch with your attorney, I can help them find the pet trust in your state. And in Minnesota, Marion, I would highly recommend talking to Barbara Gisselson. She's phenomenal, and she is a wonderful animal law person. And I can give you her information if you email me, and she can help you, because you really want to find someone and set up a trust in a way that's going to work for you. So if you send me your attorney, I can help them, Susan, figure out how to build that trust and find someone. It might be your accountant. It might be, your sister, your brother, your husband, sister, or brother, somebody who is trustworthy. A pet trust can't really be pilfered as easily as it's called a pet protection agreement that my dear friend, God rest her soul, Rachel Hirschfeld, put together, which is a phenomenal article as well. But it doesn't have the safeguards of a pet trust. But then again, it gives people peace of mind that the money is not going to be taken if the person has a financial woe, because trustees sometimes have money taken if they have financial woes. There's a whole shit ton of stuff that goes into it. And that's why we always work with the attorneys in the state to have them tell their clients, the pros and cons of making a trust. But the pet trusts are always best because those funds are available on demand. You don't have to be dead or alive. You can get those funds all the time. So we're coming to the end. Anybody else? Kieran, everything good with you?
Yeah, I do have a question and just a quick announcement. I was talking to a very good researcher during the week, and in November we'll be giving away, I think, about 1,500 to 2,000 copies of the book, just to get research feedback on the usefulness of it, and it'll be sort of divided into two parts. The first one will be any family thinking about getting a dog in the coming year. And then the second part of the research is basically any family who already has a dog. But one of the stipulations of getting the book free will be you give feedback. And for anybody who has a dog, we will be putting this in black and white. One of the stipulations is that you fill out the MAAP form at the back of it.
Yay!
So hopefully that will get it out there a little bit more. Now the question, Debbie, I noticed Connie and Susie's dogs had accidents, and Suzanne had one as she came on. So is this the most dangerous podcast on the internet?
I think it's the most dangerous community group. Yes, people are slipping and falling and getting bitten by ticks and things. So if you come on this MAAP plan, you may hit yourself in the head with a orange slicer, a lemon peeler, or you may get basiosis, tick-borne disease, or whatever. I totally I take no responsibility for things that happen, but we all are dog owners, and this kind of stuff happens. I was just afraid, Susan, you tripped over Maggie, and I went, oh my God, that's what she did. She tripped over Maggie. Oh my God. But no, it's not dog related. Thank God.
No, but she was close by when it happened. I was just reaching up and it just slipped right on my noggin.
And you've got a nice knot on your head. So
I do.
Well, take good care of yourself. And until next Wednesday, Marion and Arlene, I hope you guys join us again. We have a great time. We talk about all sorts of things, and I reinforce what it is, and I speak about different things all the time. I reinforce what it is you need to know to make sure you navigate the journey your pet takes when you can't care for it. And for you, Marion, also navigate the journey of the pet when it's with your co-owner. Really important. So until then, kiss all of your babies for me. And this is Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, and of course, this wonderful MAAP community. Kiss your babies, and I'll see you next week.